So we're starting today's SportsMax Zone with an assessment of the 50th edition of the CARIFTA Games in Nassau, Bahamas that ended Monday night, the three-day showpiece of the Caribbean's finest young athletes. Brilliant with many high points, but tainted by some controversy as well, with many fans and officials from around the region left perplexed regarding a few of the incidents that took place. Now, one of those, the boys under 20, 4 by 100-meter final, that was won by Jamaica, being called into question with the Bahamas lead-off man Zachary Evans stumbling forward and not leaving the blocks. The race was called back with the runners halfway through their opening leg. Later that evening, a protest was launched by fourth-placed Barbados, who missed the bronze by 0.02 of a second, noting they did not have enough time to recover from a faulty start. And meet officials agreed to have a rerun the following day, Sunday, but the teams refused to participate, leading to much unwanted confusion around one of the premier events at the meet. Now, there was also an incident involving St. Kitts under-17 boy, Jalen Bennett, who was left off the start list for the 200-meter final and subsequently had to run alone during the closing ceremony. And earlier Monday, it was confirmed that the Jamaican Shaquane Gordon, who got bronze in the 110-meter hurdles on Monday, was disqualified hours after the race had already concluded. So here to help us understand what took place is the competition director for this year's CARIFTA Games, David Charlton. David, CARIFTA, always fabulous. This one, no different. So before we uncover the controversial side, what were the good things about this world-class three-day meet for you?
Well, one of the great things is that we've been getting compliments from the local and international fans about how great the meet was executed. Even though, like you said, behind the scenes there were a lot of challenges, but we met them all head on. And at the end of the day, I believe that the LOC gave the track and field fans a fantastic track event.
Yeah, and what the fans obviously embracing the event because Bahamas also celebrated the 50th year of its independence. So it was a festive feeling for the Bahamians, and a lot of medals won by the Bahamians, certainly more than you did the last year and the last CARIFTA Games before that.
Yes, this is the best we've done in quite a number of years. So it was exciting to be a part of it. As a matter of fact, the first time we ever won CARIFTA, I was a member of that team. So it certainly was exciting to be a part of this grand 50th event. Yeah,
that was way back in 1984, David. So you're aging yourself at the moment. But
1980 in Bermuda.
Okay, 80. Okay, yeah. All right. Even well, a little later, but 84 was the last time that the Bahamians actually topped the medal table. About those issues now, let's start with that 4x1 because I saw you on television explaining on Sunday morning the position as meet director regarding that 4x100 rerun. We know that the Barbados team had made a protest in the evening Sunday. Can you take us through that process and what would have triggered the officials' decision to rerun the race? Because it apparently was very unpopular.
Yeah, well, as you know, and correctly mentioned that the lead-off leg did not leave the blocks, his hand did not leave the track. So that was deemed not a false start. Now, there was some delay in calling the race back, but the race was, he was not disqualified, and it was rerun based on the decision of the starter. Barbados felt that because they had ran 80 meters, and the Bahamas did not run 80 meters, that they were at a disadvantage. So their leadoff runner would not have had the recovery time as the Bahamian leadoff runner would have. So they thought that they were put at a disadvantage, and therefore they protested. The jury of appeal concluded that because the Bahamian athlete did not leave the blocks, he should not be disqualified, and the race should be run over. We then subsequently asked all of the teams to make contact with all of the teams and asked them to declare whether or not they would be showing up to run. A number of the teams said, one or two of the teams said that yes, they are available. We could not get a commitment from Barbados to say that they would definitely run. So in that light, it was decided not to run the race over.
Yeah, I saw you trying to explain the situation on Sunday morning, David, and it did appear to me as if the decision to rerun the race was not was not hard and fast. There was something about your narrative that suggested that you were awaiting to see if the teams would actually do a rerun. So what?
That is correct. We had asked the teams. First of all, we made contact with all the team officials and informing them that the race would be rerun. Hours before the race, we asked them to declare their teams to run. And like I said, a few of the teams did put their statements in that they will be available to rerun.
But David, but David, why would Barbados protest and then not seem interested in the rerun?
Well, you'll have to ask Barbados that. I'll have to ask them that, because we did ask them to declare their team, which they did not do.
All right, shall we move on then to the other? What about the St. Kitts athlete who had to run all alone? How did that happen? Because I don't think I've ever seen that in CARIFTA Games history.
But it's the timing officials missed out on him. There was another athlete who did not qualify for the finals, and his name was down on the start list. The coach it was the athlete from Martinique. The coach came in and indicated that his athlete did not deserve to be in that spot, and he would and did not earn that spot. So we then reported it to the timing officials, who went through their photo finishes, and it was found that he did not earn the spot in the finals, and it was the St. Kitts athlete that earned the spot. We then redid the start list, and at the end of the day, we failed to make contact with the St. Kitts athlete, informing him that he had made the finals. We did have some communication challenges at the meet, and I think this all was a part of our shortcoming. You know, as a meet director, I have to take full responsibility for that. We failed that athlete, and at the end of the day, that athlete wanted to run that race. It was until the finish of the race, the 200, that the athlete coaches learned that EGOTA did not show, and they lodged a protest. The athlete wanted to run, and by all means, we made all effort to ensure that athlete had himself the opportunity to run at the CARIFTA Games. He had the slowest time qualifying for the finals, and he ended up after his run with a 4th place finish, an official time at the CARIFTA Games.
Sir David, I'm trying to understand something here, and I just want you to help me with this process. Did the starters have leeway to use discretion in their decision making?
What race? The 200?
No, just generally.
Well, if you're talking generally, yes, starters do have, according to IWF rules, they do have they can use their discretions at certain times. And if you're talking in particular by the 4x1, yes, the starter did use his discretion and disqualifying the Bahamas and rerunning the races right then.
And that's what I'm talking about in terms of the possibility of certain races going into disrepute because of the use of said discretion, because then it would seem as if some athletes or nations would get preferable treatment as opposed to others. Would you agree?
Well, the IWF rulebook allows the starter to make that decision. At the start of every race, there's an ATO who is responsible to oversee the start of the races. So it's not just the starters, the ITOs who also can have a say in these decisions.
The 110-meter hurdles in particular, the Jamaican youngster Shaquane Gordon was disqualified hours after the race concluded, apparently because of a false start. That's what we're hearing. What would have led to that decision being made or being communicated to the athlete long after the race was finished?
Well, there was a protest was lodged by the Bahamian delegate that the athlete should have been disqualified in the first instances where there was a false start, because after the video showed that he did false start, so they lodged a protest. That protest was then upheld by the jury of appeal. The Jamaican delegation then protested the protest because I think there was some discrepancy on the athlete that was identified as the one that false started. I believe the Bahamian delegation indicated that it was the athlete that won the race who false started, but then that was not the case. And the Jamaican delegation then protested the protest, and they won the protest that it was the athlete that got the bronze and not the athlete that got the gold. So there was a lot of back and forth between the jury of appeal, the Bahamian delegation, and the Jamaican delegation.
Okay.
And that's why it took so long.
Okay. Almost got confused there, but I hope you understand the point in regards to discretion being used and the subsequent protests in regards to that discretion. But my question now is straight in regards to that particular race. Wasn't there a reaction time?
Yes, there was. Now, so, what happened there, I could not tell you. I could not tell you because we did have the reaction block set. Now, the exact detail as to why that did not register, I cannot answer that question.
Oh, so it was a case of it not being registered?
I cannot, like I said, I cannot answer that question right now. But yes, we did have the block sensors on. Why it was not picked up or what, I can't answer that.
Are you going to be getting a report on that issue?
Yes, definitely.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think that is a very valid question as to why that was not used. And I cannot answer why the jury of appeal did not use that in their decision making.
Is that the reason why the protest would have been based on the video evidence that would have been used? That
is correct. That is correct.
I find that a little bit strange, Sir Lance.
Yeah. I think this is the start of the 110-meter hurdles. Shaquane was third and lost his third place based on a belated disqualification for what was deemed to be a false start. When the meet started, David, there was an approach by the organizers that gave us the feeling that the spirit of a friendly games would be pursued here. I speak specifically of the Guyanese getting in late and the meet officials extending the invitation for them to go straight on in the events despite missing the heats. I gather there was some bit of a protest there, but I think the Guyanese would have welcomed that, and that sort of set the tone initially on the opening day for an inclusive and friendly approach to the games. Having said that, are you then disappointed that over the ensuing days 2 and 3, a lot of the teams didn't feel that way about the approach from the organizers?
I mean, that comes as a surprise to me that the teams felt that it was not a friendly environment. But we certainly made all effort to showcase the athletes from around the region and to make them all feel welcome. So that comes as a surprise to me. Generally, working with all the coaches and the athletes, I did not see that, feel that atmosphere. And they did have, friendly competition. At the end of the day, each delegation, each country, each athlete wants to come out on top.
Yeah, and I made the point that I think that it was a good gesture to allow the Guyanese to compete, even though they arrived in Nassau late and would have missed the preliminaries. I thought it was a good gesture there. But if I go further to, let's say, Monday's morning session, where the Jamaican long jumper Dejani Bruce was called for a foul in her jump, when our television replays, slow-mos, and still done by the producer showed clearly that it was not a foul, and the officials insisted for about 7 or 8 minutes that it was a foul. So I think the Jamaicans were a little offset by that. Yeah, it was cleared eventually, but there was a lot of resistance from the long jump officials on that.
Yeah, but again, I'm not made aware of that controversy, but certainly we try to use modern technology so that these things would not happen. We had a camera posted at the long jump board, as they do at IAAF events now, where they don't even use the human eye now to declare no jump. So for that to have happened, my apologies to the athlete. I was not aware of that, but that should not have happened because, like you said, we have modern technology that identify these things. And at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all have to make mistakes, but it's one thing to own up to your mistakes when you make it. And if that was the case at the long jump, certainly the officials should have owned up to it and not pursue the call.
I want to understand the post-mortem, the process, and the aftermath of you getting the report. If and when you see the list of controversies, if you will, or mishaps or mistakes that would have been made, what will happen in the aftermath of you seeing that report?
Okay, I'm not going to sit here and give a statement on what will happen. There is a post-mortem tomorrow with the technical delegate and all of the competition committee members, and certainly these are the kind of things that we will be going through. As a matter of fact, it was just given to me. This is the what you call it again, the recall blocks that we're going to go through, and those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at, what happened in the hurdles. So all of those are right here on this paper here. So we will go through all of that to ensure that whatever happened, we learn from it, and we own up to it, and we ensure that it does not happen again. Because we stand to host a number of upcoming major events, such as the Bahama Games, the World Relays next year. And certainly we will be hoping to host CARIFTA in a not too distant future again. So it's definitely our intention to learn from this, and whoever sits in the seat of the competition director will hear from this current committee and ensure that all of the shortcomings that we may have had is not gone through again.
David Charlton, great having you on, the SportsMax Zone, competition director of the CARIFTA Games. Congratulations on a wonderful weekend of competition. The athletes certainly from the Caribbean advertising to no less a person than Lord Sebastian Coe, the head of World Athletics, who was there as he usually is, and very impressed with a lot of what happened over the weekend in Nassau, and a very memorable weekend for all the fans, both in the stadium at Thomas A. Robinson and the viewers on SportsMax television. Thanks, David, and keep up your work as an administrator of track and field in the Bahamas.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, back with more on the SportsMax Zone. Still more CARIFTA talk coming up after the break.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.